things.
Here, I'd like to call to order the Rapid City Area School Board of Education regular board meeting. And if I don't remember to say it later on, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Shirley, can we have a roll call, please?
Troy Carr,
Here.
Jamie Clapham. Here. Christine Stephenson. Here. Deb Baker is absent with notice. Kate Thomas.
Present.
Michael Berkland.
Here.
And Walt Swan is absent with notice.
This time we'll have our invocation.
Pastor Randy Phipps from Midtown Church. Once again, thank you for the opportunity and what I consider to be a privilege to become part of our public effort for our community on behalf of our children, our families, the Rapid City School District, staff, administration. We are blessed. And that's why we have opportunities that we look at even celebrating Thanksgiving this week. And we have many things that we're thankful for, and maybe they're not all the same, and there are some differences and stuff, but above everything else, God is good. And I want to pray over your meeting and your time and your efforts that it would be well spent and time well used. So thank you, Jesus, for these people here tonight, for the opportunities that we have to recognize the good gifts, the blessings that we have, the things that we indeed are thankful for. And I'm thankful for every effort being made, for the accomplishment of the Rapid City School District, for every teacher, for every staff member, for every child, for every family, Lord. We want the best. We want what's right. Oftentimes, Lord God, we fight about that. And I pray that we wouldn't fight over issues that are settled. And that you would give a right spirit and a right attitude. We would know that a lot of these things are settled. That you have given us wisdom and discernment. I pray that wisdom and discernment for this school board, that they would be able to make right decisions, righteous decisions that would honor you and bless these families. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. This time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have, before we have the approval of the proposed agenda, I'd like to make a motion to add an executive session to, after item 11 would be item 12, and adjournment would be item 13. Okay, any discussion? And well, I will have the discussion. There's some employee information actually. I probably should. All these papers. All right, this executive session would be SDCL 1-25-2.1. And it would be some information that I'd like the board members to hear. So that's the discussion. We don't need a roll call vote. We're all here.
You made a motion. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, so we've added that item. Oh, so now we need, I need a motion for the approval of the proposed agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right, any discussion? None. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Persons wishing to address the school board, we have one tonight, and we'll call Ms. Florence Thompson. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, my name is Florence Thompson. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education, SDPI. And we are very pleased that the school board is interested in kindergarten achievement, because that's what I'm talking about here. I'm a retired school psychologist with over 40 years experience in the schools. So I've had a lot of experience in this area. Most of what I did in schools was evaluating kids with special needs to see if they would qualify for special education, what type of special education they'd require. So this is really near and dear to my heart. Regarding the kindergarten achievement problems, I'm sorry Mr. Swan isn't here tonight because he was very concerned about that subject a week or so ago at the meeting, and I share his concern. I think I can clarify a little bit of what's happening at that level. Common Core was going to eliminate the achievement gap. That was one of its big promises. How's that working out for you? Don't tell me now that we don't have Common Core, because we do have Common Core. It has been labeled as other things. And yes, the teachers went through all these meetings and they crosswalked and they upwalked and all this sort of thing, but they all came out the same across the nation, magically. So the self-proclaimed experts led by David Coleman this was a Common Core, the guy that headed it up, decided to raise the graduation achievement levels by starting from the bottom and making kindergarten the new first grade, thus making disadvantaged children even more disadvantaged. These experts, and as I say, self-proclaimed, they weren't experts until Common Core came along. They thought they could push the kids into high achievement levels with strong heavy behavior modification and constant testing and monitoring, computer monitoring of feedback. They are behaviorists at heart. Kindergarten used to be a place where kids were exposed to school, always for the first time. They got exposure to ABCs. They counted to 10. The only reading they did was their name cards on their little lockers where they kept their rugs for nap time. And they learned their colors, and they saw some picture books, and they sang some songs, and they had snacks. And they were half-day kindergartens. Well, at the time that Common Core came in, a lot of us protested this particular part of it because this was age inappropriate. And there were experts in early education all across the country who protested this. They wrote letters, their organizations sent in letters to the Common Core board, and it was all ignored. Common Core went through on a rail. It was written up ahead of time. The teachers, the principals, everyone involved, the public, everyone was manipulated using things such as the Delphi technique in these meetings to get them all to come up with the very same standards across the entire nation. Okay, and we still have Common Core standards. And if you don't think so, I challenge you to look at your materials and see if they aren't Common Core compliant. And the SBAC test is Common Core compliant. So you look at those things. The kids that come home with their papers, it says Common Core right across the bottom of them. You see Common Core goals all around the tops of the rooms. This is not by accident. Well, now they're South Dakota standards. Well, big deal. That's just a relabeling. So anyway,
Thompson.
that was the whole idea.
That's time, Ms. Thompson.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To force achievement.
Thank you for coming. Any board response to public open forum comments? Seeing none, Superintendent Swaggart report.
Thank you, Bishop Carr. I do echo Happy Thanksgiving if I forget to say it later. In my report this week, I would like to talk about the strategic planning updates. In the staff pillar, we had a negotiation strategic planning session under the staff. We also have planned our next staff appreciation event, so put it on your calendar, December 10th. Robbinsdale Bowling Alley, 2 to 4. It's a Sunday afternoon. We did that on purpose because we had some of our custodians and our night workers ask for us to have a weekend event that they could participate in as well. So Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4, we have the Robbinsdale Bowling Alley, and we will be providing bowling and shoe rental. And all staff is invited to that. Under the student pillar, as it was brought up a little bit in the study session, we did have the career fair. We did have an issue with a booth from Black Hills State University. It was their tourism and hospitality program. And we have spoken to the dean of that program, and we are waiting to hear back from that dean. We have requested an apology that can be sent out to the parents of the 8th graders because the handout was very inappropriate and not acceptable. I hosted a student voice forum. I try to do that once a month, and it's growing this year, so I love that. And I'm trying to get out to the various high schools and middle schools and invite students, attend something, a student council meeting or something they have there, and invite students to join the student forum. We meet here one Thursday a month at 5:30, and it's a great time to really have some one-on-one with the students and hear what's going on. I met with the high school principals to discuss a work experience pilot expansion. That is one of the things we talked about when we increased the required course load for our seniors in the fall of 2025, was a work pilot expansion so that they could get credit for work. And so we have started that process. I attended the Lincoln Buildings 19 to 21-year-old program. And so I know in the community, a lot of people think we're not using Lincoln, but we are using all of the space in Lincoln. And one of the things that we have there is the 19 to 21-year-old program. And so those are students who have completed, most of them have completed the alternative path to graduation. And we hold their diploma in abeyance. So we hold it back with their parents' approval, and they continue with us until age 21. And we help them get work experience. Well, on last Wednesday, they cooked a Thanksgiving dinner together, and I was invited to have Thanksgiving dinner lunch with them, and it was wonderful. And I always enjoy my time with those students when I get up there. Last Friday, I served on the AP Physics panel at Stevens High School. I'm always blown away by the effort and creativity and just the intelligence that these students have when they present these AP Physics challenges. Each class has a different challenge. This year I judged the H2O challenge. So that challenge is for students to come up with a way to produce a device that will produce 3 liters of clean water in a 24-hour period for some place that does not have clean drinking water. And each class presents 2 ideas, and then one of those ideas is picked and they actually go forward and build the model and test it out. And I'm just always impressed with their ability to present to a large group. Other classes come in and watch, to take questions from the audience and to answer things on the fly about their presentation. And it was amazing. In the community pillar, I met with the mayor and also with the Big Five. And the Big Five is the county, the city, the mayor, Rapid City Area Schools, Tech, and Western Dakota VOTech. And this time somebody was there for every group except South Dakota School of Mines. The conversation that day focused a lot on funding and area needs. And I did have to step out because I had another appointment, but Christine Stephenson was there as well. And she stayed for the whole meeting and sent out an update, and I appreciated that. Last Friday night, I attended the Wellfully We Believe in Kids dinner. And if you're not familiar with Wellfully, Wellfully is a local organization that houses a psychiatric resident treatment facility. And those are 10 to 12 beds of placed young women who are placed in that facility, and they are there 24/7. And so we educate them there. They also have a drug and alcohol treatment facility wing, and they also have a behavior wing. And this is one of their fundraisers, and I got to meet their new executive director. Some of the young ladies told their stories. Some of the students who had been in Wellfully in the past came back and shared how their life was going, and it was a very enjoyable evening.
Superintendent Swiger, who's the new director?
His last name is Burke, Mr. Burke, which is ironic because the last director was Burke Eilers. So now it's like Michael Burke, but it's not the Michael Burke that is at Valley View, but it's Mr. Burke, and it was Burke Eilers before.
Thank you.
On Saturday, I spoke to a gathering of Girl Scouts that were a leadership program for the Girl Scouts. And their focus that day was literacy. And I was invited to speak about how I believe in reading and what it is amazing about it, and share my favorite book. And I did have to admit to the young ladies that since I've taken this job, I don't have as much time to read in paper, but I have shifted to Audible books and I listen in the car. So I appreciate that I'm still able to get my reading fix there. We hosted a legislator luncheon, and you all know about that, where Coy did an incredible job of presenting about funding, especially capital outlay. And a team of us here met with Western Dakota VOTEC to discuss a surplus land situation and an ongoing concern with Rapid City. In the communication pillar, we met with the National Weather Service to discuss our communication plan for this winter. As you know, in the past, biggest nightmare for a superintendent is calling snow days. I truly believe that. Can't make anybody happy because of where we live and how our district is laid out. But it's always nice to partner with the National Weather Service, and they are more than willing to take my phone call 24/7 and talk to me about what they're seeing in the radar and what they're predicting. And I really appreciate them. We try to meet with them every fall before the weather sets in and talk that through. So introduce everybody who's going to call and meet the new faces, and that's always a good meeting to have. We also sent out a timeline for the Canyon Lake Elementary School closure. That timeline went out the end of the week last week, and it went to the Canyon Lake boundary, all the families that live in the current Canyon Lake boundary, and all of the staff. And we have arranged bi-monthly meetings with the administration at Canyon Lake so that we can ensure that we are keeping updated on how that timeline is going with Canyon Lake and what questions they have and what needs they have from us and what we need from them to move forward. So that I put that under the communication piece. And in the facilities pillar, we began really dialing into the boundary discussion that we will be presenting on December 5th. And that will be in front of the board. In the schools, Robbinsdale hosted the PAC meeting for November. The PAC meeting is, of course, the Parent Advisory Council for Title VI. They elected their final member, but then took a resignation. So they have to they have to work to fill that spot moving forward. But I just think that group of leaders on that PAC board is amazing this year, and we talked about the winter powwow that's going to be at General Beetle. I know that Bobby put that on our Facebook page, but that's coming up in December. It starts at 4. People can start arriving at 4, and then they're going to have dancing and food from 5 to 7. So if you need any details about that, let me know. Today, I took a half day off, and this morning I went to Hill City, and I was invited by a former Rapid City teacher who now has moved up there. She's an English teacher, and she invited me to come into her classroom and talk To Kill a Mockingbird, because that's what she's teaching, and she knows I love that book. And I just, it was a perfect day because we didn't have kids in school, so I didn't have any school commitments, and I was able to take the day and go up there, and it just filled my soul to work with young students again today. So I got to talk to 2 classes of juniors and a class of seniors. So that was wonderful. Other things that I wanted to convey is we met via Zoom. I met via Zoom with superintendents and representatives from Mitchell, Aberdeen, Huron, Sioux Falls, and West Central. All of these districts house a program that has students that are educated in facilities and not in schools. So they are mental health treatment facilities, drug and alcohol treatment, psychiatric resident treatment facilities, or detention centers like Wellfully, or in our district, JSC, Children's Home. Those all count. And many of the other districts are having difficulty funding those programs with the money they get from the state. And they kind of wanted an opportunity to problem solve. And I felt very fortunate to be invited, because when I was Title I-D principal, we got ahead of this. So we established our process for funding these programs based on the number of students they have, not the number of students they can house. And that's what some of these other programs have experienced, is they've overstaffed them, and now they don't have the money to pay. They're trying to figure out what to do. But it was really great to brainstorm and listen and be able to answer questions to these other programs. And we don't always have the opportunity to do that. So I appreciate that the new superintendent from West Central set that up. I was invited to speak at a new administration day to people who are new administrators this year, new superintendents, principals, and can be looking into getting administrative jobs in the future. And my topic was things that are unexpected by new administrators. So that's the topic they gave me, and I gotta go talk about that. And I was honored to be asked. Of course, every month we have a DOE Zoom where they tell us the things coming down the pipe. So I keep on top of that. Met with the new president of Chadron State College with the principals of the 3 high schools. They were interested in talking to us about student teachers that might be coming our way, but also they're interested in getting their foot into the door to maybe do some dual enrollment teaching with us as well. They are willing to allow our teachers that have enough credits to be professors and teach classes to teach on campus, which is an opportunity that we currently are not, we don't have as much of. But Mr. Lundeen at Central reached out to Black Hills State and kind of prodded them a little bit like, hey, Chadron College is willing to do this. What are you willing to do? And so we're in talks to expand our on-campus dual enrollment offerings with our staff, which is quite an honor to be in talks about that, because it'll really benefit our seniors. But I know Central has a harder time of getting students to dual enroll because of the need to have internet at home or transportation out to the WDT or transportation out to the university center. So to have more opportunities on campus would benefit our students. And last but not least, we met with Marzano, who is the company that you approved last board meeting to do a SPED review in our district. And we will be starting that work after the break. And as far as the director's reports, special education on December 5th, our next board meeting, you're all aware that we are still 18 special education teachers short. So we're bringing a proposal to work with a company that has tele-teachers in special education that can help do some case management of our students and take some workload off of our teachers that we do have. So we'll be bringing that proposal forward. If you have any questions about that, when that agenda is posted, please reach out. In the teaching, learning, and innovation and college and career readiness departments, continued conversation with pathway sponsors. We're hearing great things about the flex days and the training. The training for the December flex day, and just to remind you, flex days are the days that if teachers, certified staff completed 7.5 hours of training on their own time, they didn't have to report to work on the 2 flex days because they did it outside of their in-building time. We develop that or assign that training that they can do at home or on their own. In December, the training that we pushed out is a lot of special education training. And I'm hearing really fantastic things about that. And there was also a section about school safety. Just for your information, I know it was a big ask last year when I brought that forward on the calendar. We have 946 certified teachers. 934 of them completed all of their training and earned Monday off as a flex day. That is 98.7%. 12 certified staff had to come in on Monday and be in their buildings all day. 934 completed it on their own time and didn't have to come in. So that's fantastic. If you remember in previous calendars, teachers would have a professional development day on the Monday of a break, but the kids wouldn't. And many of our teachers who have kids would struggle with what to do that day. So this was kind of a win-win, and I celebrate that. I didn't have anything from IT this week. Federal programs, we received word today that our comparability report passed with flying colors at the state, and that is very important because that is how we determine if we supplant in our federal funding. It is basically a big hurdle that we have to jump over in how we spend our federal dollars. So the fact that we submitted that comparability report and it passed immediately. I mean, this is very soon in the year to get that. I think last year we were still working on things in January. I was thrilled. It's like a great way to go into Thanksgiving. HR, we're still waiting on 26 certifications from the state. And we talked about this in the summer, that the state had switched its certification program. I cannot explain this, but they went to the program that we use for fishing licenses. So I don't even, I don't even know why they thought that was a good idea, but the same program that you submit like your driver's license and information to get your fishing license, that's the program that we're using to submit the information we need to get our teaching certificates, and it has not worked well. We started the school year with hundreds of teachers hadn't received their certification yet. We're down to 26, but we are still waiting. So once again, I contacted the State Department of Ed. We are 5 weeks away from next year. And in January, you can start applying for your next teaching certificate if you need it. So they need to have this cleared up. We were told they would have it all done by November 1st, and then we were told December 1st. So I'm on that. And the final department I want to talk about was safety, and remind you that the December 12th study session, Matt Sargent will be presenting on what he has learned as he has gone around to the buildings and done school security and traffic studies and things like that. So thank you very much, Bishop Carr.
All right, any comments on the superintendent reports? I would just like to say to the community that the decision to close on the snow day is not made, as Superintendent Swiger said, it's not made easily, and it's not made independently. She calls and coordinates with at least 7 or 8 there's no word, entities to make that decision. And even with all that information, sometimes it's just difficult because there's so many moving parts, and can they plow the parking lot, and who can get out, who can. And so I just wanted to thank you for that, and because that's one of the difficulties of the job that people really don't know. I don't know if they think you're sipping coffee and tea and just flip a coin and make a decision. But she is sometimes up at 2, 3 in the morning in order to make the decision to give to communicate to parents and the whole district, give them time to whatever the decision she makes. So I just wanted to bring that up. Yes, Mrs. Stephenson.
Just a follow up on snow days. I noticed last year as a parent that there were more 2-hour late starts. Personally, I really appreciate that. It made things easier for our family when the day before it was called pretty early as a 2-hour late start, and then kind of a wait and see sort of thing. Have you gotten a lot of feedback? Is there a downside to 2-hour late starts, or are people, do they share my opinion that it's a not bad way to go?
I think the only concerning thing about 2-hour late starts is it's really hard if we call a 2-hour late start and then the weather progresses and we have to then switch it to a day off. We get a lot of pushback because we said it was a 2-hour late start and then the roads were worse or the blowing was worse, and then we have to make that change and people have to shift again really late in that process. However, I appreciate the 2-hour late starts because we get to count the day with the state, and we don't have to worry about making that up. And with some adjustments to the calendar this year, we don't have as much leeway in our hours. The state requires X number of hours for middle and high school and X number of hours for elementary students. And we don't have as much wiggle room there. So already last year, we had multiple snow days. Last winter was a super tough year. So I know that this is probably not real wood, but the fact that it is Thanksgiving, we had called days in October and November last year. So this year has been a blessing that way. But I will always err towards late starts if I can. We are also late, last year or last spring, we determined we were cutting it close with our hours, so we developed a virtual day plan with the state that met their requirements. So if we call a snow day, if the weather experts are saying this is gonna be awful, they're predicting to close the interstate, people aren't gonna get here, aren't gonna be able to get home. If we call us a snow day by 2 o'clock the day before the snow day, we can make it a virtual day because we have then time to send all the students home with devices. And we can call that virtual day. And if we call a virtual day and we meet the parameters that the state has set forth, which we have communicated, then with our staff, we can have a virtual day, but we had to call it the day before for it to count. So it's nice to have that option, but we also know that we need organization time. So we only do that when we know it's really predicted to be bad. Thank you.
Well, I don't wanna jinx you, but there's the de-icers on the roads today, which means that they're predicting snow in a couple days. I've always been like, as soon as I see the de-icer on, I check the forecast and there's snow coming.
We don't have school tomorrow though,
Yeah, I know,
so, you know.
it's good timing for the first time to see it for the season.
All right, any other comments on superintendent's report? All right, seeing no hands, Mr. Sassy.
Thank you, President Carr. Just a few brief updates for the board tonight. Yesterday, what is now being dubbed as the School Lunch Coalition met again. The group formed by Representative Whitman from Sioux Falls that is going to bring forward the legislation around school lunches. And I think that group has grown considerably. Yesterday, there was 50-some people on that call. Several legislators, all from East River, unfortunately, but I think that group has really defined exactly what the legislation is going to look like, has a much better idea of what the cost is going to be, got some information back from the LRC, the Legislative Research Council. It looks like the bill for that proposed legislation will be under 600,000, which is really a very minimal cost when you look at the amount of students that's going to impact throughout the course of the year. So really excited about that group. They did ask if I would come and testify and peer for the bill. I said yes, of course. The challenge at the end of the call was to well, I should back up. One of the things that we talked about quite a lot in the call is I updated them on our legislative luncheon, and that was such a great opportunity to be able to touch base with our local legislators, really help inform them, understand the situation better as they go into the session, and hopefully have them have their minds open to looking at that legislation. And that group really thought that was great. There was several districts on the east side of the state that talked about, hey, that's such a great idea. We should institute something like that and work on that. I talked specifically about some of the questions that were asked because I think that's so important as they go into those discussions that as legislators, they understand what they're going to be asked and what their counterparts are thinking. And so we talked about that. And then part of the challenge that Representative Whitman put out towards the end of the day was, or excuse me, end of the meeting was that she wanted everyone in that group to reach out to at least 3 people, whether they were legislative folks or influential people in their community, and discuss the situation. They also developed a really nice kind of infographic about what it is and what it means and how it impacts. And so I'm going to work with Shirley to get that info out to our local folks along with the information that we presented that day, so that hopefully they're well prepared. But it's exciting to see, oftentimes we talk about these things and we try to get them moving, but it's really difficult to get them to get traction around them and get them moving forward. So this is a great thing to see this actually moving forward and have a shot at least coming before that group and them approving it. So excited about that. Wanted to talk just briefly about the budget progress to this point in the year. And then if you all recall, one of the things that we discussed in my evaluation was having through myself and through the finance committee, bringing budget goals forward. And those goals acted in my mind and in my opinion act as sort of a counterweight to everything else happening in the district at that period of time, and trying to balance out all the different needs and priorities and strategic direction of the district with the financial health of the district. And so we've talked about that multiple times now in the finance committee. One of the things that I understood right away is in the evaluation document, we talked about that happening in October. Well, October is a really terrible time for that to happen because it's so far forward in the budget process that we really don't have any idea what the next fiscal year is going to look like. And so we visited about that in our last finance committee meeting. I would like one more opportunity to visit with the finance committee meeting and then try to bring those forward, either the first or second meeting in December. And again, I'm sure we'll talk more about those, but really not meant to specifically target any particular area of the organization, meant more as I think financial guidance around how we move into managing the financial side of the organization. So look for that. And then lastly, just briefly wanted to touch on the facilities pillar and some information you can expect coming out of that pillar. I joke with the DDL team and Casey from here on that this is by far the hardest pillar to try to plan around in the strategic plan. I don't know about hardest, it's very complex, and trying to take the vision of the steering committee and turn that into measurable metrics and a plan that the district can really dig into and follow is complex. And I think in this particular time period for the district where there are obviously a lot of other things happening around the facilities area that fortunately a lot of those things are going to collide in a good way and need to happen at the same time in order for the district to move forward. And so part of that has been the idea of looking at more of a long range facility plan and trying to better understand what we want that to look like as we move into the future. And so as we have those discussions, probably within that, there will be a facilities plan discussed. There will be some feedback opportunities, and then ultimately at some point that would come before the board, both as recognition from the board that yes, we are okay with this plan and we want you to move forward, and then ultimately as part of the strategic plan as well. So a lot of complex pieces there. I really appreciate that group of people that is working in that pillar. They're really great. They really dig in. They have some really good conversations. That's Jade Clement, John Lundgren, Matt Sargent, Nicole joins us as well. And Casey's been tremendously helpful with that as well. So I really appreciate that group of people. That's obviously a huge part of that plan, and we want to make sure that we have clear vision on that as we move into the future. So look for that as well. And I think that is it, President Carr. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
All right. Able to help you advertise, I don't know what the agenda on the next study session, but I think it would be very interesting to have you do a brief presentation on what that legislation is. Number one, to inform the community. Number two, maybe the community can call their representatives and aid in that process, and just maybe for some transparency of what we're doing, that there's actually some legislation about the school lunch. I don't know how many people is aware of the problem, is aware of what's trying to be done on the state. So that might be a good way to communicate to a lot of people about that.
I think that's an excellent idea. And I believe, as a matter of fact, that student nutrition is on that. So
Okay,
it would
yeah.
butt up perfectly against that.
Correct,
And,
yeah.
I think it'd be a great conversation. So agreed.
Any other board members about, have any questions for Mr. Sass?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. None, and don't have any conflict of interest. We're on to item number 10. Approval for proposed consent agenda. Is there any item any board member would like to pull?
I did have, item B.
Okay, item B. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no hands, I will entertain a motion to approve the approval of the proposed consent agenda except for item Bravo.
So
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, item B, I'll entertain a motion for agreement with.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. I'm about to vote before discussion. Caught myself. All right,
I pulled
Ms.
it.
Stephenson,
Um,
yes, ma'am.
So my question was, and I apologize because I did not do my homework. I've been out of town for 4 days and finally was like, oh. In recent agreements, Kelsey has given us kind of like the contract and here are the changes I made. I worry about agreements to like spend money to upgrade the website, which absolutely has to happen. But I wonder, has Kelsey had her eyes on this so that like we know contractually what's obligated? It just, I can't see I have not looked at the agreement. Did she go through it? It's basically all I wanted to know.
I don't know. Kelsey and Shane are on via Zoom. Did
Oh,
either one of you want to jump in and say? I can speak to the agreement and why we need it. One of the things for the communication pillar that we absolutely need is a website that is easily navigatable. And this proposal also comes with a app development so that one of the things that I wanted is when Bobby sends out alerts about a school closure, lockdown, secure status, she can see the metrics of how many people don't answer or don't listen or don't open the emails. And a school app would allow that to be pushed out as an alert on the phone, so it would come up. So that's one of the things. So we're looking at that. The website itself just has a very dated look to it. And when Bobby and I met and Shane met with Juicebox, and they showed us some apps that are by far better to navigate and have the ability to kind of mesh all the calendars together, which has been an ask that we've had. I mean, I think that like last Thursday night when we did the listening session, if we'd had a calendar that had everything meshed together, we would have seen that there were 6 turkey bingos scheduled at that same time. It was, of course, not intentional that we were scheduling over the top of those. And I do think that ultimately it was okay because we have the in-person listening session on the same topic next Tuesday. However, that is something that Juicebox says they can offer us. So we're looking at those things. I believe that in the DDL, we have asked all directors to run things by Kelsey. So I want to say yes, that it was Kelsey did have her eyes on this and Coy says she did. So
okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's all I wanted.
Okay.
I agree with the website overhaul or redesign.
Chair recognizes Mr. Swan.
I apologize for my tardiness. It's just been meeting after meeting all day today, so I thank you for that. But one question I do have is, it is $41,000. Is there any other companies we've looked at with comparable stuff? I mean, is it this is the best the Juicebox offers
So
what we need?
Juicebox is who we currently have done our work. If we go with a different company, we've got to start from scratch. That cost would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is just redoing, re-imaging the work they've already created. So they've created the back framework and they're just going to update the front facing stuff. So it's cheaper for us than if we went. Bobby and I have talked to another company that we were interested in as well, but their contract was a lot more money. I want to say 5 times this much or so. So this is a better financially responsible option.
Right.
President Carr,
Yes.
I apologize.
No problem.
I misread Kelsey's message. She has not reviewed Juicebox contract.
Okay.
Excuse me.
That's what she wanted to, must have been wanted to say. Okay, so she hasn't reviewed the contract, so she didn't. review it.
So would you like us to pull that and have her do that?
I think so. I think jumping in and spending this amount of money, if we can make sure that we have a way to hold the company accountable and in the way that she has with some of the other, with the grant writing contract we entered into, I think she made smart modifications and I'd like her to see it first.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Ms. Thomas.
I guess I would only add that I don't have a problem passing this in the meantime because the contract, this is for a particular piece, like they said before, we're already in a contract with them. This just adds to the piece that we need in the whole contract that we already have with them. So I don't have a problem with it.
We have an ongoing contract with
Ms.
Juicebox.
We do.
Okay.
This is just an amendment to that contract for this work.
Okay, the chair recognizes Mr. Swan.
Are both of you comfortable with that? Superintendent Swigert and Mr. Sassy, are you comfortable with this, with the wording and comfortable with the amount of money we're ready to spend?
I am.
I would say yes as well. I read the contract, didn't note any particular issues. I think in terms of the amount, it seems to be well in line of what you could expect for those types of services. So yeah, I would say I am, Mr. Swan.
Thank you.
Right, any other discussion? Shirley, we will do a roll call on this just so that we're clear. So we have item B, agreement with Juicebox. We have the motion, we have the second, we've had the discussion. Now we'll do a roll call vote.
Troy,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Walt.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, the train is moving down the tracks pretty quickly. I love it. Closer to Thanksgiving. All right, item number 11. Items for board information, any committee reports? Yeah, I'm just gonna make it under other, I guess. Oh, yeah, I guess that is the report, so. Chair recognizes Mr. Berkeley.
Thank you. We just had a quick Rapid City Public School Foundation meeting last night. We're kind of in a lull right now, preparing for spring. There's not a lot going on right now, except for a couple things. One, we're looking at some more grant bookkeeping options and encouraging our teachers to apply for grants, but also at the same time ensure teachers and other staff, I should say, everyone can apply for a grant. But at the same time, making sure that we have that kind of money for that as part of the foundation. So just making sure how much money have we spent historically and keeping better track of that. So we know how much we spend and how much we're taking in on a long term. And then kind of related to what Mr. Sassy spoke about, the big thing right now is the Fed and Ready to Learn campaign. Hopefully this is the only year that the Public School Foundation has to do that, but they're also raising money to pay off some of our student lunch debt. And especially with the giving season and particularly Giving Tuesday coming up here, just wanting to put out there that is an option that I encourage everyone to check out to donate to the Public School Foundation in general, if you want to give to our grants or specifically to that Fed and Ready to Learn campaign.
I do have a question. You mentioned you're asking teachers to write grants.
To apply for the grants that the Public School Foundation gives out. So there's a Public School Foundation form
Okay,
that we have and that we are rewriting actually to make it easier.
all right. Is that in coordination with the principal, or is there any other coordination that teachers should do or have to do?
I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
It's all in the form.
I just wanted to make sure that there's, clarity that teachers aren't doing things that the principal is not aware of.
Right, of course.
And you'll see those grants for approval on our agenda under Rapid City Public School Foundation grants. We have them periodically.
Okay,
They go through the federal programs office.
okay, all right, whoa, okay. Mr. Swan.
I would just like to comment on the PAC committee. We did have the meeting, and shortly, I mean, like right after that, Mr. Taken Alive and Ms. Jen Strong and a parent, Kayhala Disserly, we attended the State Indian Education Conference in Huron, South Dakota. We drove through the night, got there about 2 o'clock in the morning. I will say that our director, Ms. Jen Strong, does know what rumble strips look like, so actually did a great job of driving. But we attended. There were a lot of really good information there. There was a really strong session on the CTE program and their talk of the community relations that they've got to involve in their CTE program, including the tribe, as well as, and they were talking about health professions, and they were talking about just a ton of things. So it was really cool, but they did a handout that really showed their timeline, how they did everything. So I'll be presenting that as well to, the next time I come, or I'll be handing that over to Nicole. I think Jen probably has a copy as well. But there was, we also, we think that we found the graduation speaker for the Title VI feathering ceremony. Very talented individual. He was voted into the NFR and the INFR Rodeo Hall of Fame. So he's got an awesome story, and it's just really something I think our kids should hear. Don Monolo also spoke about about his journey, and it was really a great journey that he talked about how his painting got into space. It was really kind of inspiring. But I will say that the networking that went on there was really, really great, because we got to talk to educators, not only from the Bureau of Indian Education, but tribal programming, as well as other public schools. So it really just kind of, they're doing the same things I think that we're doing, is trying to solve a problem. And they're looking for answers as we are. I think there was a large mention of test scores as well as, achievement. And so they're looking for answers to make their native populations successful. And I think that's one of the things that we are looking for as well. So it felt good to go to that. It was really a really good time. We had great hosts there. The Secretary of Education also showed up for the state. So we shook hands with Dr. Graves, I believe his name is. And we had I think it was a really successful time, but I'll spend some time with Ira and Jen and kind of digest all that stuff and get it to who it needs to get to. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Superintendent Swigert, I saw your hand up and down.
I was just gonna add to the Rapid City Public School Foundation. They have asked us to bump up the Teacher of the Year nomination. So that we're going to send that out right after Thanksgiving. They'll get that to Dr. Strasser. We're going to try to have the teachers from each building nominated by Christmas, so that they have Christmas break to complete their application and schedule. Then we'll schedule they'll schedule the interviews, so that we can make that announcement at that 100-year celebration. We just think that'd be another really great time to capitalize on the fantastic educators that we have. So that is a change that's coming up. I just thought I would share that. And Above and Beyond cards, they have three sponsors. They're gonna be giving out $2,000 to staff in $50 checks 3 times this year. And the first one is at the December 5th meeting. So everybody has until December 4th to get in their above and beyond cards so that people can be in the drawing. And if you don't know what that is, every school has above and beyond postcards. You can put a teacher's name on it or any employee's name on it and what they did that was above and beyond. And if their name is drawn, Rapid City Public School Foundation visits them and gives them a $50 check. So.
Wonderful. The Community Outreach Committee, hosted the first open forum in Zoom, and, we had learned a couple of lessons. I think the biggest lesson, do not hold any meeting on Turkey Bingo night, because Turkey Bingo, I guess, is huge here. I've never been, but maybe I'll now go this next time. But I think it was well attended, for our first one. We learned a lot of things. Even one of the feedbacks out of that was a change in the survey that's on the board webpage. So that change was made. Those of you that haven't voted or taken the survey, I'm asking you to go and take the survey. We will take that information. I'm actually kind of excited to hear about that information. One of the other things that I realized is the power of the voice of the president of the Rapid City Area School Boards. I heard more than once that there's not quite appetite for a sports complex. So I had to continue to admit and say that's probably not going to happen on this bond, but that is exactly what we wanted. We wanted that feedback, and we wanted to hear what the community had to say. So as Superintendent Swigert said, that we're going to have another one on the 28th, and that will be in person at the Canyon Lake Activity Center. And so we're asking the community to come out and let's 6 p.m. Thank you. Let us know what you.
The poster doesn't say 5:30 to 5:30. Oh, excuse me, 5:37.
All right, 5:37. Yeah. So we're asking the community to come out. We want to hear what you have to say. Anybody else on the call want to make any comments or add? Or you? That Turkey Bingo. Okay. All right. Any other committee reports? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to others. Any others? Chair recognizes Mrs. Clapham.
I feel like I've been unusually quiet, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mainly, honestly, it's one thing I wanted to point out, and we do talk about this, but as a district, I know a lot of focus is on our fiscal situation, and just pointing out, like, we go through the consent agenda, but like there's 2 items this week that are saving the district money, and so that every month, every week, like, we are trying to find ways to be innovative, to save money. You know, the fingerprinting station that we're getting funding, they spent a lot of money on trying to rush fingerprints to get people working. And so just for the community to know that it is happening, and sometimes on these consent agendas, they get kind of buried because we're just moving through it. The other thing I would say, just that I am really thankful for the opportunities that this position presents. Sometimes it's not necessarily easy or pretty, but at the same time, I think it's opportunities to have difficult conversations, opportunities to meet so many different people, opportunities to serve our kids. I'm really thankful for that. And also thankful for people. I see people, it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and there are people in this room that I've never seen before that, and we're thankful for you as citizens to be expressing your interest and your support of our kids and our district, and that it doesn't go unnoticed. We don't always say it, but we're appreciative and thankful for all of you.
Any others? We just performed a miracle.
Praise the Lord.
Only 6:30. And let me just say this, for me, time has value. And I don't want anybody to get the assumption that we purposely try to rush through things, not to get the work of this district done. But we do want to try to be efficient as we can. with that time. So I appreciate board members, appreciate administration for us all working together. All right, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session SDCL 1-25-2.1. Who's that? Ms. Thomas? Ms. Stephenson? Don't need a discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. We won't, the board won't be making any votes or making